Hey guys, it's Mathel here once again with another Last Epoch video, as I did find it fun enough to make at least another one or two classes to test out the playstyles, the archetypes, the skills, etc. For me, that is definitely some of the most satisfying stuff of the game, testing their new shit and seeing what they've come up with in the skills and the builds, because they do seem pretty solid and they are pretty fun. So first of all, ignore the loot filter. I've hardly set up a loot filter and I'm still just learning the affixes, rares, etc. So I'll probably set one up today, but yes, there's lots of stuff on the ground. Is what it is for now, no big deal. But the thing I wanted to test was a SpellBlade. So it's a concept and a character that revolves around kind of attacks and spells combined, kind of similar to a cast on crit in Path of Exile. At least the result is similar, whereas the actual system for creating such a character isn't really a cast on crit. It's just a concept of being more of a Battlemage type character. So I found a sword that was off of one of the bosses in early maps, sword that Lagon drops, and it has a bunch of melee type damage, some spell damage, and a tidal wave proc as well that you'll see shooting out every now and again. And then I thought, oh cool, I'll try and make a SpellBlade with that and see where it takes me. So right from level 1, just taking stuff as I thought I wanted to, didn't follow guide or anything, and the entire concept was essentially build into what looks and feels cool and then try and get as many procs as possible. So the result is that I've got a big spending skill. So I've got a generator, a spender. The big spender is Shattered Strike. It's this frosty looking circle thing that comes out in front of me that can then also generate some AoE spikes, that can also generate some AoE sort of winter style things, and then my spender, my generator is just Mana Strike that gives you back some mana and can also proc some things too. You've also got your teleport that shoots out an extra tidal wave, does some zigzag action and does some damage too, and then you've got just an enchant weapon that enchants your weapon with more damage and some utility and stuff as well. So it was pretty fun to put together. I think it's the most fun I've had in this game so far, though I've only played a Hammerdin and now this. The Hammerdin was great and a very solid character. This one's a bit squishier as a base, but it's got a bit more fun stuff, I feel, that can throw out with some synergies and stuff. And I'm only playing one example of one of these SpellBlades, so you can do like a much more fiery type, you can do a bit more of a lightning type, you can do a different type of cold one, you can do some other procs and stuff, which I might investigate for Elemental Nova, but there is some pretty cool stuff happening here, and I'd say for me it's probably one of the most enjoyable and satisfying Battlemage style experiences I've had in pretty much any game. So there are, you know, MMOs and RPGs and stuff like that that have tackled Battlemage, and usually it's either one or the other you end up leaning on. You're pretty much all melee or you're pretty much all spellcaster while holding a sword or some shit like that. This one does feel like a proper battle mage where you are in the thick of it, you are attacking and you are scaling off melee and you are scaling off spell. So kind of like a PoE cast on crit, but that's more of a, you know, glorified system for delivering your spells as opposed to being a proper battle mage, but that does it a pretty decent way as well. So yeah, the result is a pretty fun character, and I'm still building it, I'm still working it out. I think I'm level 80 by now, something like that. But the sword that you can get from the boss is one of the things that's going to make the build a lot more fun. It's a very easy drop to get, and then you just start attacking faster, you start hitting harder, and you'll also have that little extra meme tidal wave proc, which is a bit of a meme. Doesn't do much damage, and supposedly most battle mage builds that people have made and played are more of a dual wield style, so you'll instead have like 2 swords, and there might be, I think, some set that helps you with that. I've not seen other set and unique items for it and stuff, but usually I think people play it with a dual wield setup and then some other stuff, and maybe focus more on the actual hit damage of Shattered Strike, so it does become maybe less of a battle mage setup. I tried to make mine more of a battle mage setup where both the spells, the procs, and the attacks kind of matter. In the end, I think it does kind of work that way, like my spells matter as much as my melee, but it is still probably vastly suboptimal. Like, I think if I just built strictly into the attack damage of the Shattered Strike and use that as the main source of damage, then it would probably be a lot better. Who knows? Doesn't really matter. We're having fun. We're just trying stuff out. But I do think that the game has got the generator spender system pretty well in tune here, because your generator in Mana Strike can actually do some good things as well. When you're using it, you are getting a lot of mana back, but you're also getting a buff for damage. You're also like stacking a spell damage buff. You're also proccing other things, so it doesn't feel bad to be like using the generator to then deliver the mana spending system of your Mana Strike, because you are a weaker version of yourself, but you're still a version of yourself. Whereas the wrong way of doing a generator spender, I feel, is where you're just like basically doing crap all while trying to wait for your resource to then deliver the spending of the real attack. Whereas this does feel pretty appropriate. And then it's quite likely that you can get rid of that altogether and just solve mana by itself, but who knows? I've yet to try that or delve into that, since I think this is fine the way it is. So that's just a bit more about last Epoch's SpellBlade, and I will go ahead and show you how to play this character, or like what I did for this setup if you want to do the same thing. It's been pretty fun, and it doesn't take too much effort to get this thing going. It's not a huge in-depth guide, just going to basically run you through what I did to get to this point, what the character is. SpellBlade, which is a mage starter, I think it's called mage. Yep, mage starter. SpellBlade Ascendancy, so sub little class thing, which you can find here. So you start as a mage, you become a SpellBlade. You can become a Rune Master or a Sorcerer with this base, but I wanted to specifically have that Battlemage style feel, but maybe Rune Master could do similar things. I don't know anything about it. So as you level up, you get all these skills. I tried everything out as I could while I was leveling, and it seemed to be the case that you basically play Mana Strike, and then you either pick some of this SpellBlade shit. So you either go Flame Reave, you go like Shatter Strike, or you can do some dot stuff, some Firebrand, some stacking of some other shit. But in turn, I ended up speccing Mana Strike to do, like I said, I basically went with all my stuff to do maximum kind of procs. So I just looked at stuff and went, oh shit, that might generate another spell or proc some other spell or something. So then I specced into it. So I don't think this tree and this situation is correct at all. And I may even do a bit of a respec to try and be a bit more effective, since a lot of these procs aren't necessarily doing too much and they ended up just being a bit afterthoughts. But either way, you can copy all this and then have a similarly nice experience with your character. Just some extra attack speed on Mana Strikes. It deals some extra damage. You deal extra damage if you've hit with a Mana Strike recently, and then you can stack your debuff buff of like spell damage by attacking a lot with this. You do this thing for Spark Charges, which is another little sort of proc for damage or some shit, and then another proc for Mana Arc over here that I then take the mana away from. So in the end, I may even get rid of Mana Strike as an actual spec and do something else with Elemental Nova as a spec. So I'll probably try that out, because you can only have a few things actually leveled and spec'd into. You can use other skills on your bar. Like for example, Frostclaw is then something I'm also spec'd into as just an extra proc, but it's not on my bar, it's just going to be procced. And the purpose of this thing is essentially to just get procced from my melee attacks, and that's the big Frozen Orb style skill that ends up proccing from my attacks every now and again. You get the max stacks of this, and then it can deal even more damage and more spirals, and it procs from this stuff over here. Speccing more into it over here, it can also then potentially proc Elemental Nova, which I will probably experiment with if I can justify removing some stuff as well. We then get to SpellBlade at like level 15 or 20 or something. You try out your SpellBlade stuff as you want. I thought Shatter Strike ended up being the coolest thing, so that is this attack here. So this attack here. And it's triplicating itself at the moment, so that's why it looks that way. And then it's also shooting out shards to the side as well. So Shatter Strike is shooting out shards because of, I think, this thing here, and then they also go further and faster, so it turns it into a bit more of a clear skill as opposed to just pure like DPS and single target and stuff. This is the recast, so this gives us much more casts of itself, and then this does more damage per equipped sword with crit multi, so that's where dual wielding comes into it, and then there's another big dual wield node. So it does kind of make sense to dual wield, but I'm using a certain sword which is found off of a boss at level 75 or something like that, and it has all of this sorts of damage and then casts a tidal wave. It is also 3 legendary potential, which in this game is a system where you can enhance your legendaries. It's a pretty lucky drop basically, so it can have 1 to 4 legendary potential, 4 being extremely rare, 1 being pretty common, so something like this. And then what you can end up doing is putting affixes from a normal item like this one here onto that and enhance it in some way. So this meaning 3 legendary potential, it will steal 3 affixes from an item like this if you combine them together, and then it'll become much more powerful. So if I put melee crit or attack speed onto this thing, it's going to go up another huge notch, and hopefully that's what I'll end up doing when I have the right base to smash onto this. Currently I've just been playing with the completely vanilla sword and it's been very good, but I think conventionally you are supposed to dual wield with these things because of things like that, and also things like SpellBlade. This you can dual wield, take more damage, but you can then dual wield, and thus you have a bit more damage and 2 swords to scale off of. So aside from that, Shatter Strike, you get enchant weapon, you do whatever you want with this. I just tried to make it so it's a perma buff that has almost full uptime with a bit more cooldown recovery. I think this will have 100% uptime for now. It is something that gives you a lot of damage every now and again, and then I've made it almost permanent. But we can also make it do some extra procs, once again, more icicles, and then it refreshes itself, and then I may do some Elemental Nova, I'm not quite sure. This one's probably not worth it. And then add a bunch more attack speed from that. Then using Surge, which is our teleport, which is basically taking the place of teleport but doing some extra funkier shit, so that's what this is here. The last point there is what specs it into a zigzag. I'm not sure it does too much, maybe it has a bit better coverage, otherwise it just looks kind of cool, so zigzag action, why not? Not sure Surge is correct. It might be better to just do Teleport, because Teleport by itself is actually pretty good, even without speccing anything into it. Where is it? It's there. Even without speccing anything into it, whereas this takes a good, decent amount to spec into to become pretty good. But the main difference is that this thing, Surge, actually hits pretty hard and can help clear as well. So I don't know, I'll probably experiment with getting rid of that and maybe using some procs from Teleport, because then we can have Elemental Nova going off as well, so even more procs and stuff. But that's currently the kind of setup I'm going with, and the passives are, I don't know, I was just trying to do some damage, I guess, and then some int and some other damage and stuff, and got some attack speed and some crits, and then started specking SpellBlade, which I've got some ward, because ward is the main sort of defense system for spellcasters, I think, which is kind of like Energy Shield, but basically start out with 0 and then you have, and it decays, and you have to like generate it, and you can generate a lot of it. I haven't gone fully deep into ward at the moment, but that's kind of what's happening here. Some ward. I also went with this Elemental Burst proc, which I'm not sure is worth it. So we might get rid of that and spec something else, but this is where we're at. This is the current spec. Don't take it too seriously. It might end up being pretty crap, and I might end up doing some other stuff. All we can say is up to this point, this is where I've gotten to, and it's been fine, and it's been pretty fun, and if you want to copy the setup, that's kind of how it is. I put this helm on at level 12, I have yet to take it off. It gives you a lot of crit, but I do want to get rid of it and eventually do something else. Other than that, I've just got this thing, which gives you a bit of spell damage and ward and stuff. This belt that does some stuff that I'll probably get rid of. Movement speed boots with some cooldown recovery. These gloves I just then managed to put on, which now do some armor shred and some melee res, but otherwise we're looking for like some attack speed maybe. this thing, which just gives us a bit of extra damage, because it does have this water orb proc, which is absolute ass. It does like nothing. I thought it'd be really cool, an extra proc and, you know, more water orb or something, but it's a tiny little bubble that floats past on the screen, doesn't do shit, I don't think, so just extra buff damage. CDR ring with some stuff on it, a pretty crap chest that does a bit of mana and stuff, and some Shadow Strike, and then an amulet with some cold damage, and that's pretty much it. And then idols don't do anything too special, so some mana Gander's Ward, some melee damage, and yeah, nothing too special. So you can see I currently have about this much ward when it starts like regenning and degenning and stuff, but if I dump all my mana, I gain ward as it happens, and then that'll happen more throughout the fight. And then you can also use Flame Ward as a bit of extra if you really need to. You can even spec into it if you really want to, and then you can become much tankier. That's it though. That's the build for now. It might go somewhere else. It might become better. Who knows? For now, this is what it is, and it's been very fun. I've had a lot of fun going from level 1 to about, you know, 70 for this sword, and still having a good amount of fun trying to help put it together for later game. Been a pretty good game thus far, and I still have another character or two in me, I reckon, before it's time to put it down, but we'll see where we go and how we feel. For now though, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.